Spooky Whispering, and thank you for 1,000 subscribers. Today, as a special treat, I wanted to tell you one of my own personal paranormal stories. I figured the best one to start with today would be the cars that aren't really cars. I've seen them in different places in my life, and I'm pretty sure it started as soon as I started driving, but there was never any other place I could be so sure of them as this one place that I saw them frequently. Every Friday night when I got off of work at the video game store, I would drive out to this girl's house and we'd all play D&D. This was when I was 19, and there was a shortcut road out to her place that drove through a section of the National Wildlife Refuge. And this is what makes it so creepy. Other roads, I couldn't be sure if there was a little turnoff or a little hidden driveway, but I knew for sure that there weren't any roads to turn off. So you'd be on the highway and it was going up to like an overpass sort of thing, and you'd turn off and it'd go off a really steep dip and then level out, and there's two little houses. That's it, two little houses. And then it headed into the woods that were protected wildlife refuge. And I loved this stretch of road during the summer because it was one of those areas of road that the trees grew up pretty much right on the edge of the asphalt. It was a solid wall of trees, and during the summer when they were all green, it made this beautiful leafy green tunnel. It looked like you're driving into a magical fairy elf land, and it was gorgeous, and I absolutely loved it. And along this stretch, it was a couple of miles in this tree tunnel, a perfect tree tunnel for a couple of miles. Then when it ended, it went to these huge estate houses, and so it was fenced in properties on both the left and the right side of the road. So as soon as the wildlife refuge ended, it was fences. The first driveway was the property that was on the right, and it was still a while because these were massive properties. So you'd go along fences on both sides of the road for a while, and first would be the driveway on the right, and then would be the driveway on the left. Between those driveways and those two little houses, there was nowhere to pull off the road. Like if you had a flat tire, you couldn't even pull off the road. That's how close the trees and later the fences were to the road. There was nowhere to go. There's nowhere to turn off. And the wildlife refuge people wanted it that way because then people couldn't park in those woods and go off and illegally hunt. They liked it that way. That's exactly how they wanted it. As I said, it could have been coincidence in any other place. It could have been a little side street that someone turned off on. But it made it much more creepy that I was 110% sure there was nowhere to turn off on this road. So, some nights, most nights, not every single time I drove out, but almost every single time I drove out to this girl's house, I would already be in this stretch of road and two lights would just pop on behind me. I'm taught to be super hyper aware when I'm driving, and I'm always checking my mirrors, checking my rear view mirror, and they would just pop on out of nowhere right behind me, and I would be sure started doing things like tapping my brake, because even then, like, my brake lights would light up really bright, and it would, if somebody had just clicked off their headlights, then my brake light would still reflect off of the metal of the hood of their car, but instead my brake lights would reflect off of the trees behind me and the road, and there would be nothing there at all. Suddenly, and there's nowhere, I am absolutely sure there's nowhere they could have turned off. One of the other things that were creepy about these lights is, when a car is driving behind you at night, if you hit a bump, then usually you'll see the car lights behind you hit the bump and fluctuate. They'll look like they're brighter or dimmer for a second, because they're not hitting at the exact same angle into your rearview mirror. It'll cause a little flashy at you. These lights glided along behind me. Like, when I hit a bump, they didn't do anything. They never fluctuated. They never bobbled up and down like they were hitting the same uneven. I mean, when trees are growing that close to the side of the asphalt, their root systems go underneath the road, and so that causes, some bumps and stuff. This was not a perfectly serene. I mean, they tried to get it that way, but eventually, the bumps would start coming back. They glided along like they were on one of those camera tracks for a movie, just like ice skating smooth behind, never bumped, never fluctuated, never anything like that. So they were sort of not really headlights, just two orbs floating behind me. So this happened frequently on this road, almost every single time I headed out there. And when I got to the girl's house, I never liked being outside alone. I would call ahead on my cell phone and come up with some excuse, like I usually brought all the books, so I would be like, okay, I'm gonna be there in just a minute, so send someone out so they can help me carry the books in. But it was because I didn't want to be outside alone, because it felt like something was watching me, something that hated me, something that was violent, and it was an overpowering feeling. These were back in the days when I still smoked cigarettes, and I wouldn't go outside to smoke alone either, but I didn't want to have to knock on the door and wait for somebody to open it. It was that terrifying there. I wanted the front door to be open and one of the guys to already be out on the porch waiting for me to pull up to help me with the books, because it was creepy and it felt like something there wanted to do me harm. Like, I'll have to go into more detail about that area, but that area is historically the site of 3 mass graves, like somewhere between her house and just a little bit past where I turned off the road. Not in the wildlife refuge area, but really close up on this hill. The site of 3 mass graves from different time periods, one being Civil War, another being tuberculosis grave site, and the other was, I think, yellow fever, or one of the other, might have been malaria, something that was definitely passed on by mosquitoes before the whole dam area was situated. So something in this area gave me the creeps, and I didn't want to be outside alone. So it all came to the biggest event one night when it was a heavy, heavy thunderstorm, like no tornadoes or anything like that, just super heavy thunderstorm. The sky was crumbling, and I love these nights. I love thunderstorms. They make me feel energized. But I had just turned onto that road, gone first started into the woods, and I had a terrible feeling, like really doom. The one time I've had sleep paralysis, like that sort of impending doom, and the little lights popped on behind me, and I am already feeling absolute dread and something. And I mean, I keep checking, because it's like, is this the night that something's going to happen? And that, I call it the warning part of my brain. Some little bitty voice in it said to me, slow down. Forget about the lights. And then it was like, all I could think was slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. Forget about the lights, slow down. And I slowed down a little bit. I was like, no, slow down. And so I'm crawling at this point. I'm going maybe 15 miles per hour. And normally a car behind you would get pissed off and they'd go around you. But no, those little orbs are just floating along, keeping perfect distance from me as normal. No fluctuation. They didn't, like when I put on my brakes, they didn't get closer. It's like they're just perfectly matched to my speed. And they didn't go around me. So at this one part, there's a blind curve, and when you have trees growing on the edge of the road, yeah, you can end up with blind curves. And I'm crawling around this blind curve, and then my headlights hit it. There is a massive tree. It would have come up higher than the hood of my car. Massive tree laying all the way across the road. I can't see the top of it. I can't see the roots of it. This is a giant tree from further back in the forest that's fallen across the road. It's huge, and if I had been flying along at my normal 45 miles per hour, I may not be here today. I would have been creamed. I would have been crushed like a soda can against this massive tree. And I'm just staring at it for a moment, like in shock. It's like, well, I gotta turn around. So I put my car into reverse to, 'cause that's what you're, politely supposed to do. And it's going to be a super tight 3-point turn. But, you flash reverse for a second to let the car behind you know what you're doing. And the second I get it into reverse, because my reverse lights are white and they light up pretty bright, those lights disappear and there is nothing behind me. Nothing at all. So I do my 3-point turn, which I am very excellent at, even as tight of a squeeze as it was. And I drive back out, and I never come across another car the whole time. So it's not like they flicked off their lights and threw in reverse and drove down the road backwards. There was no other car. So when I reached the edge of the woods, I turn on my caution flashers and I call the local police to let them know, because coming from the other direction, it's not at the blind, it's not right around a blind curve, but if anybody came down the direction I was going, was flying along like people normally would do on that road, they'd be creamed. So I sat there with my flashers on and waited for the cops to arrive, and it was probably about 8 to 10 minutes later. There was a truck that came down, and so I'm flashing my lights at him like crazy. Nice, polite place like it is. He pulls over, we roll down our windows, and we both get absolutely soaked while I yell to him that there is a huge tree across the road. And so he sits there with me and helps me block the road until the cop comes along. And there is never another car that comes out. It wasn't really a car ever to begin with. And so I've seen these things, these orbs, in other places, but I am 110% sure there's no way there was a turnoff on that road, because there aren't. I am sure that when I hit my reverse lights, in less than 2 seconds, there was absolutely nothing behind me. And that's the story of cars that aren't really cars. So, thank you again for subscribing to my channel and supporting me all throughout the year. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you think that this wasn't scary or spooky or creepy at all, leave me a comment below and tell me your scarier story. Top it. Give me a better one. I'll tell you some more of mine at some other time when I can keep going, because these lights are really hot. And I'm already gonna have a fun time editing out the elephants upstairs. I'm so sorry about the posting schedule. I'm sure you've heard a little